Titus puffs out his chest while holding the spear blaster and says, "Gentlemen, I suggest you unhand the Twi'lek here, and then slowly get the hell out of this bar. Otherwise, things are going to get quite ugly, and you're not going to like it."
You're a stranger here who's about to make a very large mistake.
Howdy friends, what we have is Star Wars role-playing actual play. I've started a brand new Edge of Empire campaign with 5 of our patrons. We are now several sessions in, and we've been recording them for the podcast. This is the first session where you get to meet the 5 characters, get to learn about what timeline they are working from within the Star Wars universe. In classic role-playing fashion, the 5 of them meet in a bar, and there's a fight. If you haven't had a chance to listen to the episode with Jay Little, who is the creator of Edge of Empire, that might be worth checking out. In the meantime, sit back and enjoy a Star Wars story told by myself and 5 patrons. Enjoy!
Playing a tabletop strategy game allows you to unplug and test your skills against friends. Every week, Third Floor Wars delivers useful strategies, discussions, battle reports, and reviews to tabletop games like Malifaux. If you want to get better at the games you already play, or discover the games other people are playing, you are in the right place. Craig and Ray welcome you to the Third Floor and the Tabletop Talk broadcast.
So this is our first session for what I hope to be a very long campaign. I would like to just quickly start with some introductions. So the first character I'd like to have introduce the player is our Rodian Chal. Who's playing Chal?
So I'm Vasek. I'm from Czech Republic, Prague, and I've been playing RPG games since ages. However, we didn't have D&D, but we had this knockoff D&D Red Book. Basically, the only thing we could get, and it was called Drachidopia. So this is where I started, and slowly I transitioned to other games, and now we're playing the Age of the Empire for Fantasy Flight Games.
Very cool. Another character that we're going to learn more about is Tate Sill. So who is playing Tate?
I am. This is Keith Suderman. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I've been playing role-playing games since D&D sometime in the 80s. And lately I've been enjoying a lot of role-playing games with my kids, but it's really nice to play with some adults here.
All right. So another character we're going to learn more about is DT-24, our only droid character. And who is playing DT?
That would be me. I'm Roman Hechenberger from Indianapolis, and I've been playing various types of RPGs since late high school, and mostly D&D, mostly Pathfinder. Been getting more into the indie side of things, and I've played a little bit of Edge of the Empire previously, and it's been a great fun. And this group, I'm very excited to see how it all goes.
It's going to be fun. All right, so another character, Rix. Who's playing Rix?
Yeah, I'm playing Rix. My name's Nick Westbrook. I'm out of Houston, Texas. I'm still an RPG beginner. I was on the Flashback episode podcast, and that was my first dip into role-playing, primarily a Malifaux and board gamer. So this is exciting to join y'all with some experienced players here. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, so the last character that we really shouldn't bother learning too much about, because I'm going to have him dead within the hour, that is Titus Vale. Who is playing Titus?
I'm Robert Singer, also from Indianapolis. Many of you may have heard me on Third Floor Wars with Craig, and also in an episode with Roman. I also am one of the co-hosts for the podcast Game Store Dropouts, which is predominantly about role-playing games. Mostly a focus on D&D, but others as well. I've been playing role-playing games for 20 plus years. More recently, it's been a lot of D&D, but really excited to dive into this game, especially since I get to be a player, and very often I am the one GMing. So very very much looking forward to this opportunity to play.
It is funny. I my entire role-playing career, I always ended up being the GM, and there's a day where I'll get to play an RPG. I don't know when it is, but I do, and I'm not complaining. I love running it. So guys, we are playing the Fantasy Flight Star Wars system, which has 3 different books. We're going to be focusing on the Edge of Empire, which is, talks about the scum and villainy of the Outer Rim. Let's first put us where we are in the timeline. So just a few months ago, the Battle of Yavin occurred, which means we're right at the end of A New Hope, episode 4. And the first Death Star has blown up. Word has spread. Some people believe it, some people don't. The Empire has already started putting out the propaganda that it didn't occur at all, and that the rebellion is weak. And like I said, we're going to be focusing out on the Outer Rim. Now, before we kind of dive in, there's a podcast that I like to listen to called The Hydian Way, and one thing that they do in The Hydian Way that I really like is they have one character ask another character a question, and it gives an opportunity for all the players and the listeners to kind of learn a little bit about the characters. So we're going to be doing that periodically throughout these episodes. So I want to imagine that the camera fades from black, and we find ourselves on a Black Sun space station, and it's a workshop, and the workshop has got all kinds of tools and wires and everything around, and the camera pans across, and we see a Rhodian male, average height, and in his hand he has a data pad, and we notice that the data pad has several wires coming off of it, and they're all connected to a droid who's sitting in a chair in front of the Rhodian. And we see the Rhodian, working the data pad. We see some of the connections lighting up as they come through, and then the eyes light up on the droid itself. So our Rhodian is Chal. So Chal, physically, can you describe yourself?
So I'm a Rhodian, basically green bug guy, and the most important physical aspect is an burn injury. So basically half of the body, half of the head, missing tentacle, which there was an accident with thermal detonator that somehow didn't make my day during a heist. So this is where we are, and should I continue from where you left off?
Nope, I'll kind of set us up a little bit more, but that gives us an idea. And for those of you listening that are not familiar with Star Wars as much as us geeks are, Greedo, who got shot by Han first, by the way. Greedo is a Rhodian, so you can kind of imagine Chal being similar to Greedo from A New Hope. So, like I mentioned, Chal has a data pad, and he's connected to a droid, and that droid is DT-24. So DT-24, can you kind of describe yourself physically?
Yes, DT-24 is built on the chassis of a BX Commando stealth droid, which if you've seen Star Wars, Clone Wars, the animated TV show, you'll see them in there a few times. They're essentially regular battle droids, but with a smaller head, a little chunkier, and they were deployed for stealth missions, so they can they're more capable in every way and don't die to a single blaster fire.
So we'll get more into kind of who Chal and DT are as we go on. We'll also kind of get into why Chal is connected to DT both as a relationship as well as like physically right now they're connected between the data pad and there. But Chal, this is not the first time DT has come online. He was down for some maintenance. You did some diagnostics on him. He's now coming back online. So what would you like to ask DT?
So I'm running class diagnostics. DT-24, you should be online. Do you copy? Everything fine?
I copy.
Okay, good. So it was a bit rough to get you started. So can you tell me what's the last thing you remember before I turn you on?
Are the Separatists and the Republic still fighting that war?
Well, some time might have passed already by that, so it's a bit late. We don't call separatists anymore. There is a thing we call Empire and Rebels. So it has been quite a few years. So I see you. Can you check your time? I've connected you to some basic diagnostics through my datapad. You should be able to get some latest news downloaded. How many years is it since you've been offline?
It appears to be approximately 15 years since I have been online.
Oh, that would explain why I had such hard time to get you back online. So, basically, we're in the Black Sun facility, and my task was to bring you up and get you working. So you can stretch your legs, walk around, and I think you should be good to go.
All right, that's great, guys. That's exactly what I was hoping for. So now we're going to flash forward a bit through time, and now we're going to focus on a Deveronian male who is currently in his apartment in Nar Shaddaa. And for those of you that are not familiar with Deveronians, they are the devil-looking guys we first saw them in A New Hope in the cantina on Tatooine. He's physically an imposing person, like many Deveronians, and he has got a hollow connection with a older-looking Twi'lek male. So, you know, we know the Twi'leks from the movies. One of the dancers for Jabba the Hutt was a Twi'lek. They've got appendages that come off their head. And if you watch Rebels, you know the captain was a Twi'lek as well. The gentleman that this Deveronian is talking to through the hollow connection is pretty road hard looking. He's older. His appendages are coming off his head are not emancipated. What's the word I'm looking for?
Emaciated.
They're emaciated. Thank you. They're emaciated. And Rix, the Deveronian, he's spoken to this person before, and this person is known as Beju Larbek. Most people just call him Larbek, and he's an underboss in the Black Sun Crime Syndicate. And Rix, let's start off by finding out exactly what you look like and kind of who you are. What do we know about Rix?
Yeah, so Rix is, like you said, a Deveronian. He's an explorer by trade, and charts different routes through the Outer Rim for smuggling operations, and is a pilot and travels all throughout the Outer Rim.
And Rix, you have dealt with Larbek before. You've been on a couple of his jobs. He's hired you to accompany some of his crews as they either are trying to find inconspicuous ways to go from one part of the rim to the other, or there's been instances where he's asked you to help them find specific planets, remote moons, and things like that. He's reached out to you, and he's let you know that he needs a little help, which is going to give you some opportunities. And he explains to you that he wants to put together a loose group, a crew, that he wants to not only be, something that he has available to him he can reach out to, but he makes it very clear to you that he wants you guys to be what he calls off the books. So he doesn't want the greater world, the Empire, or anybody else to know about you guys, but he also doesn't want the Black Sun to be aware of you as well. He explains to you that he's going to be sending a few of his associates your way, and he's going to ask you, where you want him to meet. You explain that there's a bar in the Carillion sector of Nar Shaddaa that you frequent frequent a lot, just say, and you let him know I'll be at the Orange Lady and on this date. And he says, great. They're going to be there. I don't have anything for you guys to do now, but I want you to start working together. I have no doubt that you guys will be able to find work very quickly. And at some point in time in the future, I may need you guys to do some work for me. So now, camera fades away from that scene. We now are going to a freighter, a large freighter that looks inconspicuous, but once we get into the interior of the freighter, this is obviously a smuggling operation from the Black Sun. And we go back to seeing Chal and DT sitting inside of the freighter. The freighter is headed to Nar Shaddaa. Larbeck arranged for you guys to get on here. He explained to you two that, it's time to really kind of get DT out there and working. He explained to you that he wants both of you off books. So if anybody from the Black Sun you encounter, you don't know who Larbeck is, you've never worked with Larbeck, and you're not connected to Larbeck. He's told you about a Deveronian man named Rix, who's going to be on Nar Shaddaa, who he wants you to work with, plus a couple other people. So, Chal, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So basically my story is that I'm from Rhodia, and I've started as basically as a robber. I was robbing, or as a thief, not a robber. I was thieving with a small group that we had there, and there I honed my skills. I was mainly the tech guy, so I was the guy who was preparing. I was the guy who sneaked in and opened the door from inside. And also my favorite leisure time activities to create stuff. So mainly explosives, stun grenades, thermal detonators, and well, not thermal detonators lately. I found quite a respect for them to be made by hand, but mainly frag grenades and stuff like that. I try to avoid conflict. My main focus is to get the people in, steal the stuff, and get out. I mainly use the grenades as basically a form of negotiation. Let's say it can get us. It can get some door open to say if I'm not able to do it myself.
That's awesome. And sitting next to you is DT24. What do we need to know about DT24? Howdy friends, Craig here. Nothing makes Malifaux easier than having the right tools. Here at the third floor, we love all the licensed Malifaux goodies from Custom Meeple. Not only are they helping support this podcast, they sell custom-made weird licensed tokens and terrain. They sell it all. Crew boxes, terrain, markers, tokens, and even a 3x3 full Malifaux board. Custom Meeple sells a complete M3E token set covering every marker and token you need to play. Custom Meeple are the source for the official accessories for Malifaux. Everything is designed by hand and authorized by Weird Games. Check them out at custommeeple.com, that's with one M, or follow the link in the show notes. Up your Malifaux game and be sure to tell them Craig from the third floor sent you. If you use the promo code Third Floor Friend, all one word, THIRDFLOORFRIEND, you'll get a 5% discount and help support the podcast. It's valid on everything except retail products and playmats.
Well, DT was created for the Clone Wars by the Separatists, of course, and he'd been on a few missions, but it was towards the end of the main need for him before Order 66. So he didn't see a ton of action before he was sold off to Black Sun, but ended up in a box in the back. And they had already upgraded him essentially to be more of an assassin droid. And he essentially had a subroutine running all the time while he was more than otherwise powered down. And that's led to him just slightly being online enough to develop a personality between that and the upgrades and be a little weird. So with knowing that Larbeck is now the one to have bought him or demothballed him and gotten him commissioned as his own droid, DT is being his smuggler for the moment to prove his loyalty based on these upgrades. Don't want any assassin technology accidentally misfiring and killing his boss. So we're testing before we trust at this point, but he's since been turned on. He's updated his database and understands enough to know that there is an advantage to being a droid where nobody's going to give you a second look most of the time, but there's also an advantage to not looking like a droid and being one. So he's developed this weird habit of wearing clothes. So he goes around in boots and a big coat and a big hat, and with like a scarf that he can pull up. So it looks, if he wants to do that, he can kind of pass off as someone in armor, especially with the voice changing that the BX droids do. So at the moment, he's just trying to figure out how everything works now that the war isn't on. And the big thing for him is he's confused and captivated by the fact that droids aren't like shot on sight anymore, but they're not treated they're not treated as equals, and he's trying to figure that out.
All right, so guys, we fade away now that we've gone to that, and we now are going to the cockpit of a YT-2400. And for those of you listening that aren't familiar with that, imagine a smaller, but not much smaller freighter that aesthetically is similar to a Millennium Falcon type freighter, but quite a little bit different as well. And we'll have pictures of the whole crew as well as their this ship on the website, which will be linked in the show notes. But there we come across a human male, older, in his 50s, and in a weird way, it looks like he has been picked out of the Old West and dropped into the cockpit of this YT-2400. He's got a duster on, and if you look closely, you realize that, obviously this is a style choice, and he is, fully immersed in this world as well. And he's Tate Sill. So Tate, what do we need to know about you?
Well, Marshal Sill got his start in the core worlds, but quickly headed out towards the Rim. He was the plainclothes marshal on many passenger flights up and down the Corellian Run, but he decided he wanted to settle down on a planet about 6 years back. Got picked for a mining colony. Spent some time there. Things weren't to his liking. He wanted to travel. He was suffering on that planet. He did a good job, but it wasn't his thing. Things ended abruptly and horribly, tragically for the colony a few months ago, and Tate found himself on the move again. Not quite the way he'd planned. So here he is in Hutt space, he wears a weather-beaten duster, weather-beaten black hat, weather-beaten face, droopy gray mustache. This guy has been treated hard by life, but you can tell just by looking at him that he's an optimist. He thinks somehow, against all odds and against all evidence, things are going to work out.
So, Marshal Sill, you tangentially ended up working and doing a little bit of work for the Black Sun, and that's how you came across Larbeck. And Larbeck reached out to you and he said, "Look, Marshall, I know that you're trying to kind of get your life straight right now, and I would imagine you're a little low on credits, and I've got an opportunity for you." So he had you come to one of the Black Sun stations, and he didn't meet with you physically because Larbeck doesn't do that. But he threw a message, said, "Look, here's the keys. I've got a YT-2400 in Bay 4. And what I'd like you to do is to hop in that and head off to Nar Shaddaa. And when you get there, I want you to go to a bar called the Orange Lady in the Corellian sector. And there you're going to meet a few people. And I would like for you to work with them for a little while. And at some point, I might ask you to do things. And he also explains to you that you guys are off books. But he does ask you to stop by and pick up one more person and bring them with you. And that person is going to be Titus. So Titus, the first thing I need to know is where is Marshal Sill picking you up?
The Marshal is picking Titus up on the planet Raxus in the city of Tamworth Bay, where Titus has just completed his most recent bounty job.
And Titus, talk to me about, what do we need to know about Titus?
Titus Vale is a Mandalorian warrior turned bounty hunter in the Outer Rim. Rumors abound as to why Titus left Mandalore. Some say he was exiled, while others claim he played a role in insurrection. Whether against a Mandalorian house or the Empire is unclear and a subject of much debate and gossip among Cantina scum. What is indisputable is that since arriving in the Outer Rim, Vale has proved himself to be a deadly and efficient bounty hunter who rarely asks too many questions and gets the job done. Furthermore, it is said that Vale has caught the eye of the Black Sun because of his willingness to negotiate reduced credit compensation in exchange for information that he desires. As far as how he looks, Titus is does wear kind of some scraps of Mandalorian armor. His actual Mandalorian armor, he has not been donning the full suit while he is here on the Outer Rim. The armor that he does wear is silver. Otherwise, he is wearing mostly black clothes and a green cloak. He also has a salt and pepper beard and hair, kind of in a swept back look, and green eyes. So, Titus also carries a pistol to his side, blaster pistol to his side, but he also is known for carrying a large spear blaster, a Mon Cala spear blaster on his back that functions both as a blaster rifle and as a halberd-like spear.
And Larbrook has strung you along a little bit. He's given you some work and claims to have some of the information that you're trying to find, but you've got a lot to prove to him. So he lets you know that a gentleman is going to come by and pick you up, and you're going to head to Nar Shaddaa, and he gives you the same speech he gave everybody else about what he wants you to do and how he wants you to be available, and that, again, this is completely off books. So now let's kind of get to where we are today. The camera opens up on the smuggler's moon, Nar Shaddaa. It's the largest moon of the planet Nar Shaddaa, which is the heart of Hutt space. Nar Shaddaa is where the Hutts as a species come from. And it's located, obviously, in the Outer Rim. Nar Shaddaa is a city world. So much like Coruscant, the entire world is covered in urban sprawl. It has city lights that are visible from space. And now the capital of Nar Shaddaa is Hutt town, and that's really the whole city. The whole planet is built off of these huge tower blocks that are a patchwork all over the city, but they're connected with shantytown structures called sky slums. And every visible surface of this planet is covered either with these city towers or with the sky slums that connect them all to each other. And until recently, Nar Shaddaa was run by a Hutt by the name of Gracchus. And nobody really can get a straight story. Gracchus is no longer in charge and hasn't been for several months now, and it's not real clear why. There's rumors that there's going to be some shifts of power as the Hutts decide who is going to run Nar Shaddaa going forward. So the camera fades as we zoom in and we go down to the Carillion sector of the Smuggler's Moon, which is these cities, just like Coruscant, are multi-level. So the lower levels of all of these tower cities are are slums. And what connects them all are slums. But as you go closer to the surface, as you go into the higher levels, Nar Shaddaa gets nicer and nicer. Now, even at the very top levels, Nar Shaddaa is not Coruscant. It is not Core World. It's still Outer Rim. But some people have called it, some of the upper and mid layers, kind of the Las Vegas of the Outer Rim, where you can go, and as long as that you are willing to either through credits or respect pay tribute to the Hutts that are running the Smuggler's Room, anybody can find work there. So we focus in on a bar in the Carillion sector called the Orange Lady. And to get an idea of what the Orange Lady looks like, imagine a Las Vegas bar, but not the Strip. We're talking old Vegas. And the Orange Lady, you can tell, is trying to be more than it really is. It's neon is everywhere. There's lights going on. There's a large bar in the center. Behind it is a droid that's bartending for the everybody that is coming in there. And the bar is pretty busy. You've got all kinds of different species there. Everybody's kind of clumped together in their own little groups and discussing it. So even though this tries to look like a modern, almost Core World type nightclub bar, the reality is it's no different than a cantina on Tatooine, where you've got all kinds of discussions and going in. So the camera kind of weaves its way through the crowd, and it goes towards the back. And in the back, we see Rix sitting in a booth. And next to him is our friend Chal and DT. And they're kind of discussing and talking to each other. And at that moment, two other men walk in, Marshal Sill and Titus. So Marshal Sill and Titus, you guys have just arrived. Chal and DT, you sat down and introduced yourself to Rix maybe 5 minutes ago. So I want to go right to Titus and Marshal as you walk into the bar.
Well, we take a quick look around, just trying to get a feel for where these people we're supposed to meet are. And well, I think both of us are likely on high alert anytime we walk into a room. Where's the way out? Who looks like they're controlling this place? Where's the most likely threat? We're both planners.
Now, is there any information that you guys want to glean right now, or is it just you want to make sure that I know that you guys are aware?
Yeah, I think both of us are looking around, as the Marshal said, to make sure that we know the exits and entry points, the major threats, and also keeping an eye out for the individuals that we're supposed to be meeting. Just generally being alert and kind of getting a lay of the land, if you will. Okay, good. So let's do this. Between the Marshal and Titus, can you guys tell me what your perception is? So how many dice and how many ranks each of you have?
Looks like I've got a green and a yellow there.
How about you, Titus?
Titus has a yellow and a green for perception.
Okay, so you guys both had the same perception. So what we'll do is we're going to do what's called a group check, which is the two of you with similar abilities. You're both going to look, and because one is not greater than the other, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a boost. Now, very quickly, and we'll learn more about this system as we go, because I know some listeners are not familiar with it. But Fantasy Flight, like all of their games, has custom dice, and these are what are called narrative dice. There's good dice and bad dice. So these guys have two die. They've got a green ability die and they've got a yellow proficiency. So they're both pretty good at perception. That's what the proficiency has. And there's going to be good symbols that show up on there, and we'll learn more about those. I then add some difficulty to it. So in this case, it's going to be an average check, which means you're going to get two difficulty dice, so two purple die. And I've got the pool ready, so you're going to roll, and either one of you can do it. Titus, why don't you do it? You're going to roll, and you're going to be rolling two purple, a blue, a green, and a yellow. So just go to your perception and give it a roll. All right. So we got net 2 successes. And again, we'll talk a little bit more how things cancel out. But essentially, after all the dice were rolled, the bad dice had some results, the good dice had some results, and they all canceled out to Titus, you having 2 successes. So you and the Marshal are checking things out. One, there's definitely a back room that you can see. It's not clear whether that leads to another exit. So from what you can see right now, the only exit is where you're coming in. So to your back appears to be the only exit right now. Looking things over, they're outside of the droid behind the bar and what are obviously some server droids that are scooting around going from, group to group. There doesn't seem to be any institutional muscle here that's obvious to you, but looking at the crowd itself, this is a it's obviously a collection of the scum and villainy of the Outer Rim as opposed to some core worlds drinking martinis. As far as armaments, much like you and Syl, people have blasters. Some people have some axes on their backs. It's not uncommon in Nar Shaddaa to have weapons there. Now, in Nar Shaddaa, the Hutts allow a certain level of disagreements to occur if things do get out of hand. There is security services all throughout the planet that will tend to come and squash things. Most people that come to Nar Shaddaa would prefer not to show up on the radar of the Hutts. So often these security forces, just their presence alone tends to end whatever's conflict is happening at that point.
With that, we'll make our way over to the table. I assume we spot our contacts.
Yeah, so you work your way through the crowd, and you in the very far back, you find exactly who you expected to find. And that in a booth, you've got Rix, Chal, and DT. So as you guys get to the booth, those 5 of you are there. There are a few spaces open. So Marshall, you and Titus sit down. Rix, you acknowledge them because they're exactly now everybody who Larbeck told you would be showing up. Everybody is here.
I look across the table and I say, my back is to the door. Somebody better be looking. And greetings, gentlemen. We were told to meet you here. Where are we headed next? Nobody's told me that yet.
Chal greets you as well, Marshal, and we were just told to get here, get together, and work it out. That's all the information I have, and I brought myself this tin can that we also recovered, and he's my companion.
BX Commando droid, huh? I haven't seen one of them since the Clone Wars. How'd you get one as one of your companions?
So, funny story. Basically, it seems that I had the task to bring him online, and he's from the Droid Wars era. He lived through the Separatist War, it seems, and then he went to sleep, and I brought him back in. So this is one of my things I do. I basically repair stuff, and since we gave him an oil bath, and we were told to go here and get together with you guys, I presume.
Oil bath and all. Those clankers were dangerous during the war. Lost some friends to them. How do you know it's not going to slit your throat in your sleep?
Yeah, well, about that. Well, I kind of didn't have any by hand, and my employer basically didn't give me, and I'm kind of short on money, so we'll figure it out as we go, I guess. That's what Chal is saying. Yeah, true. DT, why don't you introduce yourself? That you're harmless, right? You don't do anything.
I am DT-24. I am here to watch your back.
Syl is ever the optimist. He slides his hand around the back of his belt, and he feels his human restraint cuffs, and he feels his robot restraining bolt. And then he puts his hands back on the table. Ever the optimist.
So all of you guys have your head on a swivel. DT, Chal, Rix, you guys are looking out at the bar, always watching not only the new people that you're sitting at the bar with, but everything else happening in the bar. And Rix, this is for the last several weeks that you've been on Nar Shaddaa. This has been kind of your place, and you've gotten familiar with, the robots that do the serving. In fact, a small wheeled serving robot comes up. Master Rix, would you or your friends care for a refreshment?
Yes, let's get around for everybody here, please.
None for me, like.
Yeah, I will get the Rhodian ale.
Would it be just the regular? One Rhodian ale.
So the robot heads off, working his way up to the bar. So as you're waiting for that drink to go, I need a perception check from Rix. And Rix, I'm going to set the difficulty for you. And this is going to be an easy check. So you're only going to get one difficulty die. If you go to your skills and your perception, the pool is ready if you want to go ahead and roll. So he rolled perception of 2 green and 1 yellow. So you've got very nice perception skills, by the way. And with only one difficulty die, everything cancels out. You end up with 1 success. So you look from where you're sitting, Rix, you can see the end of the bar. And the robot that's behind the bar bartending is multi-armed. It hangs down from the ceiling and is able to service the entire bar, which takes up about 2/3 of the Orange Lady. You notice that the bar hands a drink over to a Twi'lek male. He's a blue-skinned Twi'lek and has seen better days. He's slightly hunched over. He has a cane. He's older. The reason that this is, you're noticing this is as they're talking to each other, you see the bartending robot point to you. And so this gentleman takes his mug, he starts to head over to you. And like I said, he's slightly hunched over. He's older. In fact, he's a Twi'lek who's actually missing one of his appendages off the head. And he starts to work his way towards you. He'll be there in roughly 20 seconds.
I look over at Marshall and the gentleman next to Marshall. I'm sorry, guys.
Titus.
I say, gentlemen, there's a Twi'lek behind you guys that's heading this way. The bartender pointed out at us. I'm not sure what's going on, but be aware.
Titus stands up, kind of in an intimidating manner.
As do I.
So you guys stand up and turn around, and this guy, definitely an older gentleman, and he's slowly working his way towards you, and he locks eyes with you, Rix. And as he approaches, he goes, "Are you Rix Milclock?"
Who's asking?
My name is Jasek, and we have a mutual friend. And he told me right about this time that I should be able to find you and apparently a few others here at the bar.
And who might this friend of ours be?
Probably the same friend that asked you to come here as well. I have a need for your skills. Can I sit?
Yeah,
Yes.
Mr. Jasek, take my chair, and I'll slide into the booth facing the door.
So, older man sits down, and you guys have seen a lot in your time, and the one thing this guy is not putting off is anything threatening. If this guy is dangerous, then he is the most he's the biggest fooler there is. He sits down, he sets his drink up. As the service droid comes up and puts drinks in front of everybody, of course, except for DT. So, Rix, I have something I want to show you. And he starts to reach into his pocket. And he stops himself and he goes, "It's my understanding you have a ship. Is that correct?"
That is correct.
Okay. So I have an opportunity, and as those words are leaving his mouth, somebody else, almost appears out of nowhere, and it's very rare for all of you not to see something coming. But a large Trandoshan is now walked up behind Jasek and standing there. And Trandoshans are your bosk, so the kind of the lizard men that we see as one of the bounty hunters. And he sets his hand down on the shoulder of Jasek. If you're looking for a ship, my crew is happy to help.
So, as Joel, I go to DT. You should be starting your combat subroutines, just in case.
You know, Syl is right there at the, he just gave up his chair. He'll stand back up again. He probably comes up to this thing's chin, doesn't he?
Yeah, right up to his chin. It's definitely, he's definitely
tall. Sit down. Everything is fine. He has come here obviously looking for a crew. I, Grail, have the best crew for you, Jasek.
That may be true. We're just talking.
And he did call him by name.
Oh, he did, didn't he?
So Jasek looks up, and you can see on Jasek's face, he doesn't appear to know this guy. You don't get a sense of like, oh my god, like, you know, I can't believe he's here look on his face. He is definitely puzzled. Transnotion moves his hand off the shoulder and kind of grabs the arm of Jasek, and he's like physically starting to have Jasek stand up.
Come, I'll introduce you to the crew.
While he's standing, Titus will look at the Trandoshan and say, I suggest you unhand our acquaintance here. You and your friends will not like what happens if you do not let him go.
DT does too.
No need for a problem. In fact, I'm ridding you of a problem. Why should this old man be bothering you? You're enjoying yourself at the bar. I'm sure all my friends here would be happy to allow you to stay and enjoy yourself.
He is not bothering us.
So at this point, he has now physically stood up Jasek, and you know, starting to back away. And he's not, you know, he doesn't have him in a headlock by any stretch of the imagination, but he is physically controlling Jasek at this point. You also notice that there are specific numbers of heads turned that are very focused on it. So you've got just a group that is no longer part of their conversation. Other people are ignoring this. This is not odd, this type of conversation happening. But you can count at least 6 people that have turned their attention throughout the bar to what's happening here. Transocean puts up one arm and it starts to physically back away. So let me give you an idea of where we are. Both Marshall and Syl have stood up. The Transdoshan and our friend Jasek are still in engagement range. And just real briefly for those listening, one of the things that's neat about this system is really distance is an abstract. Distance is what is one thing relative to the other. So we don't talk about things being 2 feet away, 3 feet away, 4 meters away. There's just different range bands. So right now, as this Transdoshan is backing away, he's moving from being engaged with the 5 of you to more of a short distance from the 5 of you. But probably the biggest thing is now the people that seem to be paying a lot of attention. You've got 6 of them kind of breaking away from the conversations and the groups that they were on, and they're starting to move towards him in reaction to the Transdoshan raising his hand.
Oh boy, here we go again.
Hey Craig, with Rick's being here prior to everybody else's arrival, do I notice or recognize this group of individuals that we're encountering right now?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. What I'd like you to do is let's do a knowledge underworld. I have set your difficulty at 2 for an average difficulty, but I'm giving you a boost because, again, of your familiarity and how much time you spent in the Orange Lady. So the pool is ready for you. Why don't you give me a roll?
Knowledge underworld. Here we go.
All right, so after all the dice cancel out, we have 2 successes and a threat. So I'll explain to you what those successes are, but for those listening, one of the things the bad dice can do is after it cancels everything out, it can end up with a symbol that's called a threat symbol. And what's neat about the dice system is you don't just succeed or fail. There's degrees of success and degrees of failure. So we're going to see here in a minute that Rick's does get some information based off his successes, but this threat means that even though he succeeded, things didn't go quite as well as he probably hoped. And me as the GM, I have the ability to decide what that threat means. So Rick's for you. I'm going to explain to you who this gentleman is in a second, but this is a stressful situation now that you just kind of realized I know who this is. So what I'd like you to do is click on your token. And if you click on your token, you've got a red circle, a green circle, and a blue circle. The blue circle is your soak, which we'll talk about later. The green circle is your current level of strain. The red one is your current level of wounds. So what I need you to do is click on the green circle and just type in +1 and hit enter, and that should give you a strain of 1. Strain is a measurement of your mental acuity and your mental stress. So you have never met this Transdotion before, but you know who he is. He's Grail Nor, Graayl Nor. A guy that runs a crew out of Nar Shaddaa, and it's not too uncommon for his crew to spend time here in the Orange Lady. He is always looking for work, seems to struggle finding work more than everybody else. You've seen him had getting a few physical altercations before, and just like everybody in the Orange Lady, nobody draws weapons here. But there has been more than a few physical altercations with this guy. And from your understanding, I'll use your second success. He's bad news.
He's bad news.
All right. Any last things real quick before we move into what's called structured time?
I was going to say, seeing this, I think I should be standing at this point.
Okay. Howdy, friends. Here on the 3rd floor, you'll find us playing Malifaux and other tabletop games using mats by Mars. Their mats are scratch-resistant, waterproof, wet erase marker compatible, and lighter than neoprene. Their mats use a new material that eliminates almost all glare, which is perfect if you're filming battle reports or you're under some glaring lights. Mats by Mars gives you over 40 designs to choose from. Pick a mat size, pick a print or design, and then choose an overlay for Marvel Crisis Protocol, Star Wars Legion, or even Malifaux 3rd Edition strats and schemes. The overlays will speed up your deployment and the placement of all of your objective markers. Until the end of September 2020, you can use the new promo code 3rdfloor920 to get a 10% discount on your next order. The promo code is in the show notes. When you place your order, don't be afraid to tell Mats by Mars you'd like a 3rd Floor Wars logo to be put on your mat at no charge. It's the only way to make the best mat in the market even cooler. Again, use the promo code 3rdfloor920 to get a 10% discount. All the details are in the show notes. Charles?
I will try to look around if there's some interface I could plug into, try to do some hacking or just mess up with the lights or some kind of situation like this, if it's possible from this place.
So you kind of look around, Charles, and it doesn't appear there's going to be anything you can connect to via your data pad. But something that is, what off away is basically an empty DJ booth. So across from you in the other corner of the Orange Lady is what appears to be a DJ booth, and there's music blasting, and there's a dance floor in front of it. Nobody's dancing. The DJ booth is not being used, but more than likely, if you were to potentially connect to something and potentially hack in or slice into the bar, that might be the place to do it. So, guys, what I want to do is move into what's called structured time. So there's really kind of two different ways time is handled in this game. You've got narrative time, which is what we've been in, where we tell stories to each other. We tell each other what's happening. But when potentially there's going to be some conflict, we move into what's called structured time. And we go ahead and do something that happens in most RPGs, and that is have an initiative roll. So you guys have all had your head on a swivel this whole time. So there's two different ways you can roll initiative as a character. You can use your vigilance or your cool. Your cool is you are not surprised that potentially we're going to have a little bit of conflict. Vigilance is that you were ambushed. You did not anticipate this. So on your character sheets, each of you go to your character sheets, and under combat, you should see both cool and vigilance listed there. So now it's where it's listed in your skills. I want you to go to combat under initiative and find it there. And I'd like each of you to go ahead and roll your cool for me. All right, so did we end up with everybody? So right now we've got all 5 of you went, and basically you can either get successes or advantages on your roll. It's an unopposed roll, and that kind of determines the PC slots. I am now going to quickly roll for our other group, our NPCs. All right, so let's quickly take a step back here for just a second. So at the beginning of each session, every one of these characters has some degree of obligation, which is basically a pressure that they have on their life. And it could be a debt, it could be an addiction, it could be they're a wanted criminal. And what we do is we decide as a party how big this obligation pool is. And we roll a D100, and it determines who has an obligation. And if I like to do it ahead of time, just so I as a GM can prepare, because there's really 2 parts of this that happen. One, you have an immediate impact, which is your strain threshold. How much mental capacity you have for the session drops by 2. So DT, when I rolled it, I got your oath obligation. So if you can go ahead, go to your character sheet and go to your strain threshold and drop it by 2. Now, the other thing that can happen is we can actually see this obligation end up showing up in the story potentially as well. So let me now talk about quickly the destiny pool. So another neat mechanic in the game is you have what are called light side points and dark side points. Each player rolls a die. It can potentially show 1 or 2 light side symbols or 1 or 2 dark side symbols. Players can use light side points at any point during the game to upgrade a roll to make the chances that what they're going to roll is better. They can also use it to actually impact the story. So the best example I like to put is right now, you guys are at this bar, you're at the table, and Rix decides, you know what would be really handy to have right now is a large knife. So he flips a light side point and says, GM, if I look on the table, can I see a large knife that was left by the people that were here and they didn't completely clear the table? And me as a GM can say, yeah, you know what, for a light side point, there's a very large knife on the table for you. So it allows you to kind of impact things. What's neat about it is the GM can use dark side points, and those dark side points can be used to upgrade the roles of the NPCs or make things work in the favor of the NPCs as well. But what's cool is when you use a light side point, it becomes a dark side. When I use a dark side, it becomes a light side. So it's a tug and pull with a force. So if you guys go in to each of your character sheets and click on the dice pool, you should see an area where you can first sync with the GM, because you should show a destiny pool of 0-0. And once you see that, you can go ahead and roll destiny. There should be a button that says roll destiny. So Rix gives me 2 dark side. Chol gives me a light or gives them you guys a light side. DT gives me 2 dark sides. All right, so this is this is really pretty bad, guys. But right now we have 1 light side point for the party and 6 dark side points. So we'll see how those get used over time. But right now, you guys don't have a whole lot of light side available to you. So now let's go back to our initiative. We've set the initiative up. We've got 2 groups of minions that have started working their way towards the bar. And we've got our Grail Nor standing there holding Jasek and walking backwards. And right now we're going to start with an NPC slot, followed by 2 PCs, 2 NPCs, and 3 PCs. What's neat about the way initiative works here is we don't really know which NPC got the first slot, but any NPC can do it. So either one of the minion groups or Grail can take that first slot. When after that, a PC gets to act. So regardless of who rolled that really nice initiative of 3 successes, 1 advantage, any of the 5 of you can take that slot. But by the end of the turn, all 5 of you will have acted. All 3 of the NPCs will act. So Grail is going to actually take this first slot, and he's going to do it to do 2 maneuvers. So when it's your slot, you have the ability to take 1 maneuver and 1 action. An action is you interacting with the world, shooting a blaster, hacking into something. A maneuver is, is moving from one location to another. So as I mentioned, you guys are pretty still much in an engagement range. Grail is not by himself. If he was by himself, he could spend 2 maneuvers, sacrifice his actions to take 2 maneuvers, and very easily get himself to medium range. But he's got Jasek with him, so I'm going to go ahead and have him take 2 maneuvers. And he's going to get within short distance to you. So now he's kind of backed up, and he's more in with the 6 gentlemen that would appear to be part of his crew. So that's the first NPC slot. So now we've got our first PC slot. So which of the 5 of you is going to take it first? And this is the first time we've done this together. So take your time, guys, kind of talking this through. As we get better at this, though, I'm going to give you less and less time to make decisions.
So how is he pulling the poor guy? So is he using him as a shield, or is he just pushing him in front of him? Or
yeah, Grail is walking backwards, and he's got this old man basically by the upper arm, using his left hand. His right hand is not being used right now, and he's got this just huge Trandoshan like lizard claw around it, and it's not only is it captured Jasek's arm, but it's also wrapped around almost half of his chest. And he's not lifting Jasek off the floor, but he is essentially dragging him, and Jasek is covering as much as an old tiny Twi'lek can cover of a Trandoshan. It's covering about half of his body, his legs, and maybe half of his upper torso. The Jasek only comes up really to his lower chest.
And the etiquette...
But he's still facing you.
The etiquette of this cantina is no weapons, correct? Or...
So... I don't know if you'd really know that, Marshall, but that's something that maybe Rick's would share with you. But in general, you're on Nar Shaddaa, and you know well enough, especially when you're in, Hutt space, that generally speaking, there's a certain level of tolerance. But in a place like Nar Shaddaa, where it is firmly controlled by the Hutts, blasting up and blowing up the Orange Lady probably will get the wrong type of attention.
Just wanted to check.
Yeah.
What about stunning up the Orange Lady?
You know what? Let's do a knowledge underworld, DT. You're out of the... let's see how much of that is in your memory banks. I'm going to go ahead and set your difficulty to 2 difficulties. So you've got 2 purple dice, and you're going to go to your knowledge skills and go to underworld. What do you have in underworld? Looks like you've got
a yellow and a green.
Okay. DT, you go back through the computer banks to try to figure out whether, stunned, like what can I get away with in this bar? And, there's files for Nar Shaddaa there, but they haven't been touched in a long time. You do have 2 advantages, though. So here's something that happens again. So he rolled 4 dice. He rolled a green and a yellow and 2 purple. And he got 2 failures on the purple, and he got 1 success on the good die. Those canceled each other out, so he netted 1 failure. So he fails on his ability here. But he got 1 threat on the bad dice and 2 advantages on the good dice, or 3 advantages on the good dice, which netted out to be 2 advantages. So you failed, DT. But you have 2 advantages, so it was a good failure. I want you to tell me exactly what happens. You're not able to access this information, but...
I'm not able to access this information, but... Maybe instead of any specifics on the weapons, I'm getting some kind of information about an old version of what this building was. Maybe some kind of, if you punch through the wall here, you get outside faster, or something unknown just by looking around.
Well, I think part of the process is obviously you went into your systems, right, to try to retrieve this information. But at the same time, I think that you have been very aware of the surroundings as well, right? So you were not only trying to retrieve this information, but you're trying to take in new input to help kind of suss out. And as you were trying to figure out like what's allowed, what's not allowed, you notice that almost everybody in the bar is armed, but you have not seen any weapons being brandished by anybody. So what I'm thinking is, I would like to give you a boost on your next roll because your overall awareness of the entire situation is much higher as you've been trying to suss out this information. How's that?
That sounds fine.
All right, so, and you'll have to remind me, so you have a boost coming on your next roll.
Got it.
All right, guys, so have we decided which of the 5 of you is going to act first?
I'm thinking like we spoke stunning and I have just the thing and there is a nice group of people. I'm thinking like, what collateral would there be if, say, a stun grenade would be just in the middle of the group? Would it harm any civilians that are around? Maybe the bartender?
Yeah, so let's pretend that you were to throw a stun grenade into the middle of the bar and kind of in the middle of this group, because they are the 7 of them plus Jacek are all kind of together. The blast radius, if successful, definitely would hit. All 7 plus Jacek in that group, and I would venture to guess decent chance of hitting maybe another 4 or 5 bystanders.
Okay. Not so keen on injuring bystanders.
Craig, can you remind me where the exits and entrances are for Titus? Basically, aside from the area that myself and Marshall came in, where else are there doors as either an entry or exit or anything like that?
So behind the DJ booth that I mentioned before, there is a door, which you don't have a sense of whether that goes to a back room or whether that back, leads to outside. You really don't know, but there is a door behind. It's the only other door you see that's behind the DJ booth. Now, when you walked in and you looked at the bar, behind the bar, there was a room as well, but there was no door on it. And it was obviously a stock room where they had, different bottles of liquor and things like that. So as best as you can tell, Titus, you've got a door which you don't know leads outside, and then the door you came in on to the south.
It doesn't seem like we want to be mixing things up too much indoors.
I'm fine to take the first slot if nobody else has anything that they want to do immediately. Anybody
want to challenge that, or go ahead?
I would not initiate. So if things get bad, I would throw it there, but not just when nothing is happening. So it's too much aggression for the character. So
all right, let's have Titus take the first slot then.
Yeah.
Titus, you've got 1 action, 1 maneuver. You can sacrifice that action to take 2 maneuvers, or you can then take an additional, or you can take a second maneuver by taking 2 strain, which will net you 1 action and 2 maneuvers.
Well, I think the first thing I'm going to do is have Titus draw the spear blaster.
Where do you store your spear gun? Do you carry it like a staff? Do you have it attached to your back? How do you carry that thing?
Titus carries the spear blaster on his back, so he'd be drawing it from behind him, usually over his cloak.
Well, hold on one second. So here's something that's kind of cool. So you kind of give me an idea of what you want, which helps me understand mechanically what we're going to do, right? I don't know what's going to happen until we roll the dice. So it's kind of different than in most RPGs where you say, I'm going to swing my axe, and then we roll to see if you're successful. What I like to do here is to say, okay, Craig, here's kind of what I want to do. We'll roll to see how it goes, then we can role play it and goes what happens. So I'm actually going to use our first destiny. I'm going to go ahead and use a dark side. So that's going to upgrade the difficulty. So you've got an upgraded difficulty, which is going to be against his discipline. I'm going to use your coercion. So right now the pool against you is 2 green and 1 red, 1 upgraded, and the pool is ready for you if you want to go ahead and roll your deception or coercion. I'm sorry.
So after he draws the spear, I want Titus to then try and, intimidate the Trandoshan, and he's going to start to say, for this roll, Craig, can I also use a light side point?
Correct, and the only restriction is that you can flip and I can flip at the same time. We just can't flip the same one, right? So you guys were sitting with one, now you're sitting with two, but the one I just flipped is not available to you. So if you would like to use a light side point to upgrade your action, you're welcome to.
Guys, are you all okay with me using a light side point here?
Yeah, this could avoid quite a bit of stuff if you succeed.
Go for it, yeah.
Cool, then I'll go ahead and use it.
Use light side, yep. All right, so now I have upgraded your side, so now all you have to do is just go to your coercion and give me a roll. All right, so you rolled 2 green, 1 yellow, 2 purple, 1 red, and everything canceled out to nothing. No advantages, no threats, no success, but you did fail. You need 1 success not to fail. So now, tell me what you say.
Titus puffs out his chest while holding the spear blaster and says, "Gentlemen, I suggest you unhand the Twi'lek here, and then slowly get the hell out of this bar. Otherwise, things are going to get quite ugly, and you're not going to like it."
You're a stranger here who's about to make a very large mistake.
All right. Let's go. We've got another PC slot before 2 NPCs get to go. Who's taking our second slot?
I think that really comes down to, are we still wanting to try and de-escalate, or are we just going to go ahead and start figuratively or literally pulling the trigger?
So here's... Roman, I'm going to give you just a little bit of meta context here. So right now, I don't know how much we there is. Right, there's a little bit of we with you and Chal. I don't know. It's possible that the Marshal and Titus maybe had a beer on their flight over. Rix doesn't know who the hell any of the 4 of you are. The only thing that's binding you together right now is your connections to Larbeck. So I'm not saying you shouldn't have this kind of we conversation. But I think as far as understanding what would happen right now, I would imagine that personal thoughts and actions might supersede things, at least for now, until you guys, have worked together as a crew.
But
that's
I like
just
the
my
idea.
thought, though. That doesn't mean that has to be what happens.
I like the idea that DT would just switch on for good time's sakes and good old time and just go ham. I guess makes sense.
I probably have the de-escalation skill here. If anybody, do we want to take one more swing at the de-escalation and then release the Hounds of Hell?
I'm up for the action immediately. We tried, he doesn't seem to be convinced. So, yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and let DT make a decision. DT, you're going to take that second slot.
Okay. Well, DT's mindset being a commando droid, yes, it's good to just go in guns blazing, but you do that with your all your assets available, which is where his moment of we thought at the moment is coming from. But yeah, given that he's going now, mechanically, is it possible for him to look at Chal and say, "Give me your grenade"?
So that would be a maneuver. So if you were to turn to Chal and put your hand out for the grenade, that would be a maneuver, and I'd let that happen. You would still be left with an action, or potentially a second maneuver if you want to spend the strain.
Got it. So I can receive grenade and throw in one turn.
Correct.
Cool. Let's go ahead and do that.
All right, so let's do the maneuver first. Did you notice that did you just knew he had a grenade? Does he have it in his hand?
If I've been wandering around with him and his hobby is toying with stuff, and I am that aware of what's going on, I have an inventory of what he has in his pockets.
Excellent. So I need to see the scene.
Okay, so DT, throughout this whole conversation, has kind of been doing the little I'm trying to understand droid bird head tilt back and forth, and he sees him. he's essentially just counting the numbers of, okay, we have large dumb animal and carrying away our old Twi'lek. What is the best percentage of getting the Twi'lek out and our potential assets in these guys sitting around the table not also being injured? And the answer to his mathematics on that is stun them all at once. I don't have a gun that can do that. Check inventory. Oh, Chol does.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So how are you communicating with Chol?
I keep looking at our main threat there, but I, under the table, hold out my hand and, as much as a droid can whisper out of the side of my mouth.
Give me your stun grenade.
And Chol?
Oh, Chol understands what you need, and I will just get the one from my tool belt that I have, and I take the stun grenade out. At least I hope that stun grenade just does it in his hand under the table.
It feels like a stun grenade. So you hand the grenade over to DT. DT, you grab the grenade and tell me what you're want to attempt.
So I imagine that our threats are still mostly focused on Titus, since he's been doing most of the talking. So I'm going to do an underhanded roll to try and just get it right in the middle of their group. And if I can do that amongst the high tensions and other sounds and everything going on in the cantina without drawing their attention to it so they don't try to scatter, all the better.
So I'm not even going to make you roll for like any kind of subterfuge. You definitely, nobody's going to notice what the hell you're doing here. There's just too much going on. It's at short distance, so you're going to get 2 difficulty die, but I'm also going to add a setback die, which is another negative die, because in order for this to be successful, you need to have a reasonable amount of luck that nobody's going to walk across the path, that you're not going to run into a table, a chair. I mean, this is a pretty crowded bar, so I'm going to set 1 setback. Now, you don't physically have the grenade itself, but the grenade uses ranged light. So if you go to your combat, go to the ranged light skill, will you go ahead and roll that, and then I've got all the stats I need to let us know if you're successful.
Do you have my boost on there for the previous roll?
Oh, no, I don't. That's why you have to remind me, which I do now.
Excellent.
So go ahead and roll your ranged light under combat.
Hi there, this is Owen from the Nova Open, and I am a $5 patron of Third Floor Wars because I love supporting the whole Malifaux community. I want to help Craig and the whole Third Floor Wars team continue making the fantastic content that gets me through my daily commute. You should join me in supporting the show. Just pause this episode, head to patreon.com and search Third Floor Wars, or grab the link in the show notes. See you there.
What is it worth to you to get this podcast on a weekly basis? Is it worth $1 a month? $5 a month? $20 a month? If you'd like to help support the work that we're doing here on Third Floor Wars, please go by our Patreon. We're at patreon.com/Third Floor Wars. There you can pledge at any level, any dollar amount. Whatever you give us will help us put out quality content on a regular basis and hopefully make tabletop gaming a little bit better for you every week. The reason we're able to bring you this podcast every week, as well as all of the content on our YouTube channel and via our Twitch, is because of the 110 patrons that help support us. I want to give a special shout out to these patrons who are the ones that have given us the most since the start of our Patreon. So big thank you to Nick Westbrook, Craig Chuba, Kevin Smith, Stephen Morris, Sam Newman, James Hahn, Ambrose Ingram, Jeremy Peace, Corin Soles, and Carl Lee. Because of you and the other 100 patrons, we're able to do what we do. Thanks. Tell me what happened. So for you listeners, we rolled a total of 7 dice. A boost against a setback, 2 green and a yellow against 2 purple. And after everything cancels out, what did we end up with, DT?
We have 1 failure.
Okay, so tell me what happens.
I'm thinking that was not a stun grenade.
You want to go this way?
Here's where I am.
As far as making it as dramatic as possible, I feel like that's much more interesting than oops, it rolled under a table.
So I'm not ready to do that. Well, here's what I am ready for is you roll. You see it going. You see it going. The red light is blinking as it's rolling and getting closer. Accurate as hell. It's headed right there. Nobody has noticed what the hell's going on. It's going under the legs of somebody walking across. It just barely misses one of the chairs. And like, holy cow, this might work. And you see it rolling. The light gets blinking faster and faster and faster. The camera time slows down Matrix style. It lands exactly right in the middle. Not one of them is noticed. The light's going, the light's going, the light's going, then the light stops.
Miswire.
All right. Do me a favor, Chal. Let's make sure we remove a grenade from your inventory. All right. So now we have 2 NPCs. I'm going to go ahead and have one of these groups work. Now, there's 6 of these minions, but the way that minions work in Edge of Empire and the Star Wars work is that they're in groups and they act together. And this is something actually important to say, it's like if it's your action, you don't swing a sword, you don't shoot a blaster. What happens is a series of actions all happen under one roll. And, one action could be several blaster shots. In this case, a minion group could come and they could, do an attack, and it would be several things. So here's what's going to happen is this group is going to use a maneuver and close the distance to become engaged with Titus. Yeah, no weapons because they won't have a maneuver to draw them. They're going to take a swing at you. So talk to me real quick. I know what your soak value is. Do you have any defense?
Yeah, Titus has a defense 1.
Okay, so your melee defense on the sheet is defense 1. Okay, so that's going to add a setback to this. This is a melee action. So it's going to be 2 difficulty by default. And I have got my pool set. And basically, they are closing the distance. So these 3 guys, they close the distance. They have rolled 2 green for their ability. They had a setback from the armor, which did you no good. It came up blank. Both of their abilities came up blank. They ended up with 3 failures and a threat. So they close the distance on you, Titus. You are prepared. And they start throwing fists, physically trying to control you. They can't grab onto you. You're able to pull back just in time. Two of the guys take a swing at you. You're able to duck and pull back on that as well. For that threat, one of the guys has slipped onto some liquid on the floor, and one of the 3 actually falls prone onto his rear end. Our second NPC group. This is the last NPC slot before we start again. All right, so this is going to be the last NPC action before the 3 remaining PCs get to go. That one group sees the group running up and going after Titus, and as that's happening, they do the same thing and take a maneuver and close the distance with the Marshal. Marshal, I think you just have soak, right? If you go to your character sheet, you have 0 for defense. Is that right? Okay.
That's correct.
So it's going to be just a 2 difficulty for them. They are going to use a dark side point to upgrade their roll, though.
Ooh, I see.
And let's see if they have any more success taking a swing at the Marshal. So, Marshal,
there is a spilled drink on the floor.
So
apparently,
Marshal, they come at you, and they close the distance, and punches start flying. 2 of them are able to connect with you. You're going to take a total of 4 damage. Now, what is your soak?
My soak is 2.
So the way to think of soak is a combination of several things. Soak is how resilient you are, what you're wearing, if you have any type of armor or protection or anything. But essentially what soak does is what the word says. It soaks some of the damage. So you are being delivered 4 damage as these punches start connecting, but you're going to subtract from that 4 your soak. So you ultimately only end up with 2 damage. So do me a favor, Marshall, click on your icon in the red circle, click on it and hit +2.
+2?
Yep. And it should add 2 to your wound threshold. Okay, perfect. So I actually want you, Marshall, to tell me what happens. I'll do the threat part. So they rolled 2 threats, but I want to hear what happens with the successes.
Well, Marshall Sill has been in more than one bar fight. He's usually on the side of settling things down. He's just moving backward, hands up. We can get along. However, they're ignoring those hands up, and they're swinging against him, and a couple of blows land.
All right. Marshall, you did a very good job of seeing very unimposing at first, but then you very quickly transitioned to bracing yourself to take these punches, which is why they really didn't do a whole lot of damage, despite the fact that 2 of them were, made some connections. Things are getting crowded. So these guys are running out of space. They're a little bit off balance because you were, pretty adept at not just standing there to take the punches. So I need everybody to help remind me. They're going to get 2 setbacks on that mini group is going to get a setback on their next action. Gentlemen, we have our remaining 3 PCs, and I believe that is Chal, Rix, and the Marshal. And here it really doesn't matter because you're not going to have another NPC act until all 3 of you have acted, unless there's something that is going to potentially one PC does something that impacts the others.
So I have an idea, so maybe I can get started. So I would like to run to the DJ booth. Let's say it would be 2 maneuvers.
Yes, I agree. 2 maneuvers.
So I would have to spend extra strain. So it's 2 strain for extra maneuver. So I have 9 left, and I move myself to.
All right. So here's what I want to do first, just because it's so crowded. I want to make sure that I want to see if you're able to do this in 2 maneuvers. So I'm going to need a coordination check from you.
Okay, so I will. Let's say the first maneuver goes this direction, and I run over the tables and do some parkour.
Yep.
To get around. Let just character sheet. Okay, character info. And coordination, right?
Yeah, I need a coordination. Okay. The pool's ready for you. You've got 1 setback and 1 difficulty. So, very nice. 2 successes and 2 advantages. So you have no trouble navigating this, parkour boy. If you want to take that second maneuver to get to the DJ booth, you sure can.
Okay, so I'm running. So I get big momentum. I basically leap from the chair, and I run across the table, and I basically almost jump over to the other table and start running and just legging it over the dance floor. And technically, I could maybe use the advantage to generate the second maneuver instead of strain.
Excellent. So let's do that. So you not only were you able to navigate all of the tables and the booths that were there and the people as well, but you have so much momentum going that once you hit that dance floor where nobody is, it's clear sailing at this point. And you're feeling good enough to kind of do the Dukes of Hazzard, leap over the DJ booth and slide your butt into the DJ booth itself. So I agree. That's a free maneuver from those 2 advantages. Let's talk actions.
And okay, so what I want to do is to lock the main entrance door, and I would try to find something to interface here to get in and really try to block the escape route for the transition.
So as soon as you get into the DJ booth, you can see the entire console there, which is obviously for mixing and playing music. But on the far right, you notice one little small terminal, which is pretty different than the other ones. So you immediately go to there, and you're going to try to slice in and say, let's see if I can't connect to the orange lady and do some work. So I'm going to make this an average difficulty. People don't anticipate, they're not protecting bank account numbers here. And I've got no setbacks or anything for you for that. So it's just going to be an average difficulty. This is going to be a slicing action, which is using your computer skill. And the pool is ready for you.
And let's do this.
All right.
Oh, boy.
2 greens and a yellow against 2 purples. You end up with 3 successes and a threat. So you get in, you get on the terminal. What happens, Chol?
So I get into the terminal. I immediately go for the action I lock the main door so they can't get in, or not easily just walk through the front door. They would have to pry it out. And unfortunately, since I was quite reckless and went just straight for the open door action, the electricity sizzled. So maybe I'm thinking I turned off the whole music and DJ booth, and that part turn off a little bit.
I love it. So here's the door. Great. Let me go ahead and hit the door, and the lights turn off. The doors close and lock. So now it's dark. I love that. 2 PC slots left. We've got the Marshal and we've got Rick's.
And just before suddenly the light turns off, and only just you can hear, "Charlie, sorry."
All right. I think if you're up for it, Rick's will take his turn.
Go for it.
I think it's time to throw these scanner goggles on now that it's dark in this room. I guess what's it going to take to put on some scanner goggles and potentially shoot my blaster with stun setting?
All right. So here's what's going to need to happen. You're going to need to draw 2 items out, right? First, the goggles. So that's going to be a maneuver.
Okay.
You then need to draw your gun, which will be a second maneuver.
Yeah.
If you want to take an action, then you'll need to take 2 strain.
Okay. I'll do that. I'll take the 2 strain.
All right, so same thing that I was telling the other guys. Green is your strain, so go there, get a +2 to your strain. You put the goggles on. Now, normally with this darkness, you would have setback dice, as if you tried to do anything. You throw the goggles on, immediately they turn on. It's like it's day. It's actually, it's easier to see than it was when the lights were on. And you draw your weapon, and you've got basically 3 groups you could shoot at. You can shoot at the group that's engaged with Titus, the group that's engaged with Tate. If you're engaged, the difficulty is going to be a little bit harder. Or you can try to shoot Grail. You've got a couple obstacles there. One, there's a lot of action between you and Grail, the Transdoshan, and I assume you're going to try to not hit the JSIC. So you've drawn your gun now. I need to know where you're aiming, and then we'll roll for it.
I see the Marshals getting significantly overrun, and I'm gonna prioritize that group.
Okay, so that's gonna be, because of the distance, it's gonna be easy, an easy check. So it's only 1 purple die, but the difficulty of it gets upgraded because you've got a quote unquote friendly that's involved in that as well. I'm not going to give you any setbacks because of the goggles, and there's really not a whole lot between you and this group of thugs that are going after the Marshal. So your pool is ready. Go to your combat, find your weapon, and give it a roll. So we ended up with 2 failures and an advantage. You throw the goggles on, you draw your weapon, you aim.
God,
I want the advantage. I want them distracted. I want them whipping their head around to see what's going on.
Nice.
We can definitely add a setback die. So those guys now have 2 setback die coming to them on their next action. But so you unleash the blaster, which is now the first time we've had shots fired. Just so much, right? Everything's moving. It's a melee as they're punching and working the Marshal self. You're not able to hit anybody, but heads have turned. And to make it even more dramatic, the lights were off. So it's just this flash of red, flash of red, flash of red as you pop off 3 shots trying to shoot this. All right, our last PC.
So the lights are off. There's been a flash of red off to the right, my left, and I've got scanner goggles. I'm going to put them on as I move towards JSAC, and I'll be just pardoning myself. Excuse me, pardon me. Your fight is not with me. You stay here and get killed. And I am just moving over to JSEC. I think that's 2 maneuvers. So here,
I'll be taking
let's walk strain through it. To get there. And I'm sure there's some dice to be rolled.
Yeah, so let's walk through this together. Here's what I'm imagining is these guys have swung and you're kind of ducking down. And on your second duck down, after taking a couple hits, you see a way that you can just kind of lunge through this group, headed towards... Yeah, headed towards them.
To the duster at this point.
I love it. All right, so I have no issue, Marshall, with you getting that maneuver without any problems at all. But I need to get a sense of how well you were able to make it through there, similar to what we did with Chal. So I'm going to set the difficulty. It's going to be 2 purple and a setback. Your goggles are on. So I'm not concerned about the darkness. So I just need a coordination.
And this is done from the skills tab, yes?
Yep. So you go to skills.
Oh, that duster swirls around my legs, apparently. And I am locked in place.
So you make it, right? So you do close the distance, but it's going to take 2 maneuvers for you to get to where you are now. You did have 3 failures and an advantage. So even though you didn't make it quite as far as you'd hoped to, if you want to take an action, it's going to cost you 2 strain. But I want to know what you want to do with that advantage.
Well, let me tell you what I want my next action to be, and then let's talk about that advantage.
Yep.
I need to strike up another conversation with Grail. I want to come to him in my characteristic pose, hands out, comfortable, confident, and say, well, they mix things up. Why don't you and I have a chat? Stop. Let's talk.
All right. So that is you'll get a boost from your advantage. And it's going to be against his discipline, and it's going to be your coercion. No, here's a question for you. Are you trying to be more charming, or are you trying to be more imposing?
That is a good question. Mechanically, it's the same.
I'm full of them.
However,
right.
I think in this case, there's enough going on. This is probably more coercion than charm.
Okay, great. All right, so the pool is ready for you. I'm going to use a dark side again to upgrade your difficulty. So now the Destiny pool is 3 light side.
Yeah,
4 dark
I think
side.
We need a light side here. I would really like to use it to have this conversation go well.
All right, so we're now back to 2-5. I have given you your boost and I've upgraded you. You now just need to roll your coercion.
Well,
I need to hear the speech.
Everything to get there, but I say, while your mooks are busy getting slaughtered back there, it's time for you and I to have a discussion about JSEC. He was here to see me, not you. Let's stop right here and have a nice, calm conversation.
Okay, so Transdoshan, he hears you. He's got his arm around JSEC, and he immediately shoves JSEC off to the side. So he pushes him away. JSEC is basically falls crumbled on the edge of the dance floor itself. The dance floor is raised. He's kind of now bowled over and on it before. His cane is way back to where this all started. So he doesn't even have the cane that he wanted. And the Transdoshan kind of puts his hands up in a relatively non-threatening way.
Fantastic.
All right, so that's turn. We now go back to the top of the order, and we're back to an NPC slot. And our Transdoshan Grail Nor is going to take that. So his arms are up. He barely can see anything. He definitely heard you talking. You can you've got your goggles on, so you have a clear picture of him. He put his hands up for a second, and which makes you kind of go, holy cow, like it was great that I convinced him to, obviously give up on JSEC. But you also notice him immediately reaching for his belt. So he reaches for his belt. He grabs a blaster pistol and points it at you, and he is going to take a shot. Now, he is short distance away. So in this case, it's good that you didn't make it the whole way.
Yes.
And he is going to get a setback die because of the darkness. And he is going to fire his blaster.
Ouch.
So let's do the mechanics real quick. So, Marshall, you're going to end up taking 8 damage total less your soak. So
It
your
was
soak,
2,
you said, was
so
2?
I have 6 damage coming.
Okay, so do a plus 6. So go to the red and just type in plus 6. It'll add it to the 2 that's already there. He gets a threat, which I will take care of now. Cause him stress, but he is able to do so. I mean, it looked good for a second, right? And like I said, what's fantastic is no longer is JSEC part of this conversation. JSEC has now collapsed over on the side of the floor, but I don't get the impression that Grail tends to surrender very often. So he takes that moment, pulls his blaster pistol, pops off 2 shots for you. The first one comes through, and you're able to, maneuver off of it. You pull yourself a little bit off balance. The second one hits you in the shoulder. That's a NPC slot. We've got 2 PC slots, and anybody can go of the 5. And then we've got 2 more NPCs after that. So we've got 2 PCs, 2 NPCs.
I have a plan with DT if anybody has no objections.
Go for it.
I like your plan.
All right. So DT's going to take 2 strain to maneuver and put on his own set of goggles.
Good Lord, all you assholes have goggles. All right, so you 1 maneuver to draw and put on the goggles. For you, it's a little bit different. I think it's just a bit for you. I think you've got it not necessarily built in, but it's a little shielding that drops off. So it's just a matter of hitting the button, right?
Yep.
All right. So immediately
we do that
from darkness to I can see everything.
And then I'm thinking, these are ugly meat bags. I can see everything. So then, being a stealth droid, commando droid, I am going to jump onto this, or rather use this chair in front of me as a jumping off point to leap over these mooks and roll off of the table behind them and make my way over to our contact, to JSIC, or as close as I can. I think that would end up being 2 maneuvers.
Yeah, so this is your target right here, right to where JSIC has collapsed over on the dance floor.
Yes.
So let's do this, DT. Let's first do a coordination check. I am going to set the difficulty as average, so it's going to be 2 purple dice, and this is going to determine how well we're able to make it across, up and above and over these thugs, and the furniture, and the slippery floor. It's going to be fine. You'll be fine.
Oh yeah, it'll be fine.
All right, after 5 dice, 2 against you, 3 for you, you ended up with a success. So as I move your token and get you over there, DT, I need to know exactly what just happened.
So yeah, I did exactly as I meant to, of used this chair as a stepping off point, flipped over the mooks, probably just lightly bopping them on the head as I pass, hopefully sowing some confusion there as to what the heck just happened, land on the table behind them and roll off of it off to the side, so I'm kind of right to the side of the Marshal, not quite next to JSIC as I wanted to be, but we'll end up there. That's 1 maneuver, and then with my other, I would go ahead and move right next to him and quick draw out my holdout pistol to cover him.
Got it. All right, so that'll be your action. What we'll count that as is we'll count that as an aim. Okay, so when you shoot that pistol, if you were to shoot that pistol, we'll consider you having an aim. Go ahead and take the 2 strain if you haven't already.
Okay.
Because you took 2 maneuvers in an action, and I've got another PC slot before 2 NPCs go. Who's got the second slot?
I think Rick's. Being that I've got my goggles on already, I can see kind of the state of what's already happened and what's going on. I'm thinking I'd like to get closer to our contact as well, JSIC. So I'd like to maneuver towards JSIC.
Mm-hmm.
And
what's the path, Rick? So are you going to try to climb over furniture and things like that and head more of this route here? Or are you going to try to bowl through the crowd here and go that way?
Maneuver around.
Okay, so we're going to climb some furniture, huh?
Yeah.
And head this way. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. So that's going to cost you a maneuver. Whether it's 1 or 2 maneuvers is going to depend on your coordination and your ability to kind of go over the furniture. I've got the pool ready for you with 2 difficulty, 2 purple dice. Go ahead and roll your coordination. Ooh. You guys are some coordinated MFers, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
3 successes, 2.
Yeah, we can't shoot, but we can climb furniture.
3 successes, 2 threat. So yeah, that only costs you 1 maneuver. Hopping over there, it was pretty exhausting though. So take 2 strain for me. So click on your green circle and hit a +2.
Okay.
So now mechanically you have the ability to either sacrifice your action for another maneuver, or you can maintain your action and spend 2 more strain to take another maneuver.
I'll take 2 strain to do another maneuver and then shoot.
Got it. Yeah. So go ahead. All right. So let's add that 2 strain. What is your second maneuver?
I'm going to get up next to DT.
Got it. You're there.
And
you've got an action left.
I'm going to shoot at Grail.
I can't remember which you guys have goggles and which ones don't. Do you have goggles?
I do, yes.
Okay. All right. So that is going to be an easy 1 difficulty die. Let me just double check one thing on Grail. Grail has adversary 1, so it's going to upgrade against you 1. And I just want to make sure he doesn't have any defense. He does not. So I am actually going to use a dark side to upgrade the difficulty again. So we're now at 3 light, 4 dark. The pool is ready when you are.
I think I'll use a light side as well.
Great. Go ahead and do that. I've upgraded on your side once. Let's go ahead and go to your gun. 4 successes, 2 advantage. Not enough to crit, so you only have 2 advantages. You would need 3 with this gun. Were you on stun? You have a stun setting.
That's a good question.
Real quick, what would he do?
Yeah, I would say he would be on stun in the environment.
All right, so that's going to be 9 damage less his soak. You hit him. It knocks him back. Describe to me what happens, and let's figure out what those advantages are.
Yeah, so I jump up close to my party and just point, aim, and shoot at Grail, knocking him away from me,
So here's what we can do with those advantages. You can say, you spend 2 advantages. You can't do it as a maneuver because you've already taken 2 maneuvers. You can take those 2 advantages and say, I want to give somebody very specific of the other 4 players, or even myself, a boost on their next roll. Or you can say, I want 2 floating boosts out there, which means the next 2 people that roll will get a boost.
Let's do floating.
Or you can spend them to reduce your strain by 2.
Oh yeah, I got some strain on me. No, you know what? I'm gonna leave them open for floating boost die, just in case.
So that's going to be your responsibility, Rix, to remind me that the next 2 rolls get a boost. Okay.
10-4.
All right, I've got now 2 NPC slots. The group that is getting frustrated with you, Titus. You're a slippery son of a gun. Now that kind of the seal has been broken and weapons are now in play, they immediately draw their pistols, and they're going to take a shot at you. Now it is 1 difficulty, but it's upgraded against them 1 because they're engaged with you. They get a setback die because of the conditions, because it's dark. They get another setback because you're defense 1 unranged, right? They are going to pop a shot. So the 3 of them draw blasters. The guy that, remember, 1 is on the floor. He scrambles and grabs his blaster too. They start firing at you, Titus. All of the dice. We had a total of 6 dice rolled. They all canceled each other out. So as the shots start firing, What does Titus do?
Titus stands there with a spear blaster in hand, looks around him, kind of where all the blaster shots, kind of missed. Some of them, honestly, at, near point blank range. Somewhat Pulp Fiction style. Kind of just looks around and then looks back down and starts to raise up the spear blaster and says, "That's all you got."
Okay. All right. Another NPC group. So beautiful. All right. So the other group of thugs, 1 second ago, there was a guy dressed like a cowboy in front of them. The next second, he's gone. They turn around, they use a maneuver, and I think it would have been smart for them to pull their pistols and shoot you. I think they're so confused by the whole situation. Now they just kind of want to beat the hell out of you, Marshall. So they're going to come running up behind you, use a maneuver to get on top of you, and they're going to go ahead and take a swing.
It's not the first time somebody wanted to beat the hell out of me.
They are going to get a setback die because of the conditions.
Add to that the confusion of getting tapped on the shoulder as DT bounced over them. They might think that was the Marshal messing with them.
Well, these guys, I just remember these guys have 2 setbacks from what happened over the last roll. So there are actually 3 setbacks, 2 purples. It'll be pretty incredible if they hit you.
Yeah, I like my chances.
Oh, God.
Wow.
It's a total of 7 dice, giving us 6 failures. No advantages or threats. So they come on you, Marshall. This is, like you said, not your first bar fight, right? So you knew, even though you got shot, you're shooting, and engaging with him. You knew you couldn't keep blind to what was behind you. You see him coming a mile away. You have no trouble avoiding the punches and throws that they have as they go to it. Gentlemen, we have 3 PC slots left. Who has not gone?
I have a simple one. So since our friend Trandoshan is starting to shoot, so I can see him more clearly, so I will just aim by the DJ stand, DJ booth, and unleash fire. I don't have goggles, but since I saw the interaction, so I should get that would be the first advantage, the floating one. Second would be for the aim, I guess.
Great. So I've got.
Yeah, well, I could.
So here's the pool for you. So you're at short range from him, so you're going to get 2 difficulty. You still get the setback for the darkness, but to your point, between the flashing of the lights and all the activity going on, you've got a double boost, one for the aim and one for the floating boost that's there. So the fact that shots have been fired and lit things up for a second help you. I'm ready when you are. All right, okay. So lots of dice ending up in 2 failures, but 4 advantages.
Could I... okay, I obviously missed him. I'm thinking to use the advantages to just unleash a volley of fire, so I get his attention, and he's trying to hide because he's in the middle of the place, and he basically trips and falls down right next to the bar.
Yep, I'm willing for you to spend all 4 of those to make him prone.
Okay, let's do this.
All right, so he is now on the ground. The only way he avoided getting hit by the blaster fire coming to his right now was essentially fall down. All right, we've got 2 PC slots left. Who's left? Howdy friend, Craig here. Is this episode making you realize you need to buy some models? Gadzooks Gaming is my favorite online retailer because of their large selection, killer prices, and great customer service. Don't you hate buying an entire crew box when you only need one model? Gadzooks sells crew box models individually and saves you a ton of money. They even have free shipping to the US and Canada if you spend $100 or more. Swing by gadzooksgaming.com and make sure you tell them Craig from the 3rd floor sent you. All the details are in the show notes.
So Marshall Sill barely even breaks stride as these guys jump behind him, attempt to rabbit punch him down. Takes a quick step to the right, step to the left. But mostly, he is just walking straight across the bar over to Grail, behind him is the flash, the strobing of blasters, and Grail likely can see that Sill's hands are still wide open, outstretched to his sides. He doesn't even care enough to draw a weapon, and he just walks over to him, bends down, and says, "I said stop."
All right, so what are we attempting?
I'm hoping that this is good for a coercion roll, and I'm hoping there might be another floating bonus out there, and like a white side point.
Yep.
All right, go ahead and do the light side. I don't think we have any boosts left, but go ahead and use the light side. I will upgrade the roll. And I'm actually...
Yeah, I used one, so one should be left.
Yep. So this is the last floating booster that's out there. I've upgraded your roll, and I'm actually going to put him on a setback. So it's not only the difficulty of his discipline, but I'm going to put him on a setback because of the situation, which is he's now flat on his rear end. And you may not be as tall as a Trandoshan, but you're a lot taller than he is right now. So I've got the pool is an upgraded on your side with one boost, and then one purple, one red for his discipline, and one setback. I'm ready for a coercion.
All right, the coercion check here.
All right. Go Marshall.
Okay. Lots of dice, 2 successes and a advantage. He takes his hand off the gun and is now remaining prone. Has kind of put his hands up.
I crouched down in front of him and I said, "Let's talk like gentlemen now."
Excellent. I've got another PC slot.
Titus will go if nobody has any objections. And he's going to, with his weapon, the Spear Blaster, is going to swing on some of these minions over here.
So we already talked about the fact that you've got the weapon ready, right? That happened a while ago. But can we now take a quick second to talk about what your weapon is?
Sure. Titus carries a Spear Blaster, Moncala Spear Blaster. It's a Mon Calamari weapon, and basically it doubles as a halberd-like spear that can kind of pierce through armor, as well as a blaster rifle with a stun setting. Yeah, it's pretty cool. He got it from...
don't worry about how you got it. So Titus, are we shooting with the spear or are we swinging the spear?
Titus is going to swing with the spear.
Okay, great. I've got your difficulty set. It's going to be a 2 difficulty for a melee action, 1 setback for the conditions. And just go to your spear, and I think I've got it listed twice on yours. Once as a melee, once as a thing. You ran the melee, so you did not net a success, but you got 2 advantage. So you swing the spear, and what happens?
All right, so with the advantages, I'd like to have Titus, realizing that these minions are no match truly for him, and not even worth his time, and observing that the gun has been given up by the Trandoshan due to the Marshal's efforts. I would like for Titus to kind of push or barrel over or bull rush these minions with the haft of his spear to kind of get some extra movement.
So if you want, we want to use that to get 2 maneuvers?
Yeah, let's do the 2 maneuvers. That's great.
Okay, great. So you get 1 maneuver built in plus a second maneuver. So yeah, I have no trouble with you doing 2 maneuvers. Show me where you want to head, and I'll put you there for 2 maneuvers.
Yeah, let's I think I've got the movement. Let's get me over right next to Rick's.
Okay, great. So let's move you next to Rick's. You break through all of them for no strain whatsoever. You take a swing. The momentum of you taking the swing, pushing you forward, them reacting by pushing back, opens up a nice running back hole in the front of the offensive line. You head straight that way towards the rest of the group. So now we're in a situation where really all 4 of you, we've got one Rhodian trying to put the right song on to set the mood in the DJ booth, but we've got the other 4 of you now are back together again. We've got DT on top of Jasek. We've got the 3 of you guys close. You all of you have noticed that the Marshal appears to have subdued this Transdoshan. We've got 6 guys behind you. I'm going to take this first NPC slot. And one of the thug groups is going to go, and they are going to sacrifice their action to take 2 maneuvers. They bowl past you guys, headed past the Marshal, past Titus, past Grail, and are headed towards the front door. So they're done. I've got 2 PC slots.
Titus will go, and Titus wants to kind of approach the situation with the Marshal and Grail, the Trandoshan here, and raise his weapon and try to basically intimidate the Trandoshan while having sort of the gun pointed at him, and say, "You better give up now. I already told you were not going to like where things ended up. And here we are. Stop this nonsense now and listen to my friend here."
Okay. All right. So let's do a coercion. I'm going to give you a boost, again, because of the situation, against his discipline. And the pool is ready for you. All right. He does not seem to want to take orders from you. You ended up with no successes, but 2 advantages. How do we want to use those advantages?
Let's use the advantages to help Marshall out with what I assume is going to be his coercion or persuasion of the Trandoshan here.
So we've got a maneuver and an action done. I'm thinking you give a boost to the Marshal's next action just by the sheer fact that you're a very intimidating man. So any action by the Marshal against Grail is going to get a nice boost. We've got another PC slot.
I'm thinking with Joel to set the mood. So Joel sees that the evil guy is on his butt. So he goes back, turns on the light, but not everything, just some of the spotlights, and aims them on the Trandoshan, like interrogation style. And while doing that, he sees a playlist, so he plays the Star Wars version of Staying Alive.
I like it. All right, so that's going to be a go ahead.
Yeah, while doing that, I will walk out and join the guys in to surround the Trandoshan. Basically.
Gotcha. So let's do the action first. I'm going to set you at 2 difficulty, and what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get back here and bring some lights on, specific lights. So I'm setting the difficulty average. I am giving you a boost because you've gotten pretty familiar with this system. So if I can get a computer's check from you. All right, so you're not able to get the lights back on, Chal. But what does happen with those 3 advantages?
So basically, the lights just flicker and then turn off again. So no light there. I'm thinking like just at least some ambient light turns on, like the LEDs on the bar lit up and on the DJ booth, just to get a little bit like how to walk around, but you have got to be careful. But no need to be in pitch black now.
I like it. So how about we have 3 floating boosts out there? You good with that?
Yeah. Basically, what I was intending. Okay.
Yep. So the next 3 rolls we're going to have boosts. So we've now got a second NPC slot. We've got the next.
I'll just
go ahead.
Myself,
like your maneuver. Yep. Thank you. All right, so it looks like the next group of minion thugs aren't quite as loyal to Grail as they may have first appeared, and they have pushed through as well. So we've got 6 guys headed for the door. Last PC slot is Grail. I don't know what Grail's going to do. He is going to take a maneuver, but it's going to require a roll. Roll, and then I can decide whether he was successful or not. Let's see. So he is 3. So he's on his back, Grail is. And, he's got both of you guys there and really not a whole lot of room to go. What he is able to do, though, is he's able to slide and push himself back. So he's no longer engaged with both Titus and Syl, but he is still on his back. really not in a position to take any type of action. His gun is left back there. So that's actually it for him. We've got 3 PC slots. So we got 3 PC slots.
I'll take a slot here, and I'll pick up his gun, slip it in my pocket, say you won't be needing this. You do need to hire some better help.
All right, so that's a maneuver.
And at this point, maybe I am going with the charm, because things have diffused. It might be time to sit and talk like gentlemen, as I suggested. Please,
Excellent, okay.
I'll order you a drink.
You've got a floating boost, Sil, and I've got it against his discipline, so it'll be your charm against his discipline. Pool is ready when you are.
All right. We don't get a lot of successes, do we?
No, I tell you, you do have, you say, let's have a drink, right? He really is just not interested in being told what to do. So you even had the boost from Titus there as well. So talk to me about those advantages real quick.
I think he's getting more and more cornered all the time, and I'm thinking he's becoming more shaken.
I agree. So let's make sure we'll give him a setback. Yep. So in fact, here's what I'll do is I'm going to use 1 to give him a setback, and then I'm going to put 2 more floating boosts out there. So we've now got a total of 3 floating boosts going. All right, who are the last 2 PCs to act?
Okay, I'm thinking like with Joel, so I go closer to our Wheelek friend. I forgot his name, sadly.
Jacek.
Well, I think you've already acted this turn, haven't you, Chol?
Yeah.
Was it this turn?
Yeah, I think it's DT and Rix who haven't acted yet this turn.
I guess I'm torn.
What are you doing there, Android? What are you doing there, Dvorak?
Yeah, I see these guys fleeing. I guess I'm not opposed to them just leaving. I don't see the need to be aggressive in any more manner in the current situation.
So before you continue, DT, how about you? Are you going to take any type of confrontational action at this point?
No, if our big friend is down, I'm essentially I'll keep the gun out in case he tries anything, but I don't have a reason to just blast on him.
All right, guys, I'm going to take us out of structured time at this point. So I am going to take us back to narrative time, and I want to quickly talk about the situation. So all 6 of these guys make it to the door, start hitting the button, and it ain't opening. Grail, he might be big, but he's not that dumb. He is now weaponless, on the ground, severely outnumbered because his friends, his crew is not nearly what they thought he would. Jacek is laying there. He is conscious. He's on kind of slouched over the dance floor, and you guys have participated in a bar fight in the Orange Lady. Not a whole lot of damage, but blaster shots were fired. So the chances of some attention coming to the Orange Lady is probably pretty high. And I think this is a great time to break and end for our first session. We didn't cover a whole lot, but a lot of that is because we spent a lot of time learning about each other, learning about who the crew is. We starting to get a feel for, that interaction between GMs and players and players and players. And I think things are going to snowball and get much faster. When we come back for our next session, we're going to get a chance to find out what exactly is going on right now. Before we even knew what Jacek had to tell you, all hell ended up breaking loose. How does Grail know Jacek's name? Do they know each other? It didn't appear that Jacek knew him. How did he just suddenly kind of conveniently show up at the same time Jacek? So I think these are things that we're going to have to figure out when we go into our second session. So to finish things out, first, DT, I need you to up your strain threshold back. because your obligation is done at the end of the session. So you can set your strain threshold back to where it was at the beginning. And then we're headed in that direction. So you got your threshold back up to where it was supposed to be, right? So who has strain? I don't think we're ready to lower the strain. So I'm going to leave it where it is. When the dust really settles, maybe when we don't have potential adversaries in the room with you guys, I think that we'll be able to kind of clear some of that strain with a cool or discipline check. So we're not quite there yet. What I would like to do, though, one is I want to find out whose obligation is going to come up in session 2. So I'm going to roll a D100.
You know, Craig, as the dust is settling in there, Syl is going to touch that burning hole in his chest that is more than halfway taking him down. Look at the blood, turn towards the bar, say 2 fingers, rye, neat. and then point his other hand to Grawl and say, 1 for you, 2.
Good. Boy, as soon as I told you to bring that strain back down, we roll a 55, which is your oath again. So you DT can't quite get over the stress that your oath is having on your mind. So if you can drop your strain back down again, strain threshold back down by 2. All right. So last but not least, what I like to do is I like to get a sense of really. I tend to run my games episodically, right? So this was episode 1 of hopefully a long-running series that people are going to tune into. And just like any TV series that has an ensemble cast, you tend to have one character featured. So I want to figure out in your mind, whose episode was this? So another way to put this is, who was our MVP? So Chal, I'd like to start with you. Who do you think was the MVP of this episode?
I liked Marshall. He went with his character, tried to calm things down and to drink in the end. Things like, things starting like that, he presented well the character, so that's what I think.
Excellent. Okay, so Marshall, who is your MVP?
I'm loving watching the interaction between DT and Chal. I don't know if I can vote twice, but that's where I'm headed.
Well, you got to pick one. We only have one in first place. So who do you think was?
We'll go with DT for now.
All right, DT's episode. I think just his. I think just the grenade thing alone makes that a believable nomination. So DT, who is your MVP?
Joel remains a excellent companion and technological asset.
All right. So, Chal, you've got an MVP vote. How about you, Titus? Who is your vote for? Whose episode was this?
I'm going to vote for the Marshal, I think. It was pretty awesome the way he was able to kind of persuade Grail to give up his weapon and everything there. I thought that was pretty epic. That being said, DT and Chal both had some pretty fantastic and highly humorous moments. The grenade, though, was especially choice. So,
but you, Rex, who do you think was the MVP?
I got to give it to Marshall. Got to give it.
All right, let's quickly hand out XP. So don't worry about anything. I'm going to update your sheets by tomorrow with this XP. So I will do all the bookkeeping on this. But Marshall, I'm going to give you 10 XP. Chal, you're going to get 8. DT gets 8, and both Titus and Rix get 5. I'm looking forward to next session, guys. I think that our pace is going to be a lot better. We won't have as much bookkeeping and introductions to do at the beginning. A good session, especially for a first session. We're 6 guys that have really never done this together before. I think we've got a lot of interesting questions to get answers to. Usually don't have this many after just one session. So we will tune back in for session 2. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch so you don't miss the avalanche of content we create. Links are in the show notes. Be sure to check out our shop on thirdfloorwars.com for the latest in gaming apparel and gear. There you'll also find the latest information for the USFO Tour. Find out where you rank in your conference or even in the entire United States. Get those models built, painted, and ready so we can see you at the next USFO Tour Masters event. Please take a moment to write a review of this pod on your favorite platform. Rating and reviewing helps us find more listeners almost as cool as you are. Be sure to share this feed with all of your friends who love tabletop gaming. Thanks for listening. Howdy folks, Craig here. Now if you love gadgets as much as we do, you're going to love the new Third Floor Wars Gadget Bundle from Schooner Labs. Branded with the logo of your favorite podcast, it comes with 2 measuring multi-tools, a compass stepper for those tight and important movements, along with a compact dashboard to track your turn, strat, and scheme scoring along with your soul stones and pass tokens. It is the perfect bundle for anyone who plays Malifaux or just wants to look cool while doing it. The link is in the show notes. Check them out and help support your favorite gaming podcast.